You can do a 6-figure drop in 30 minutes.
It's actually crazy. There's no level of dopamine that I've ever experienced that compares to weeks and weeks of work that nobody else sees, all boiling down to like a day where like all the orders come in and it's like, this is what we've been working for. My mom passed when I was 5, and then my adopted mom passed when I was 17. I learned that I needed to turn that anger into passion and use that passion to build something that helps other people, that serves people, that does good for the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 153 of the 505 podcast. Today we got Marshal Crews in the building. Now this is Marshal like you've never seen him before. A completely unfiltered conversation talking about everything that he's been through in his life. The man has one of the craziest stories of his upbringing. He's doing over 7 figures with his clothing brand. They're selling out in under 30 minutes, $110K plus dollars on his brand. It is an absolute masterclass in building a brand, building community, building an audience, leveraging social media for your brand. If you are a brand owner, you have a business, there's something that you can take away from this episode. He's 22 years old. He's absolutely crushing it. Without further ado, let's get into it. Marsh, give me the one-handed crack.
The one-handed crack.
Show me what you got. Whoa, you gotta take it off the table.
Take it off. Okay.
You gotta take it off.
You gotta establish the rules, okay?
You gotta take it off the table.
Take
and
it
then
off
you
the
go.
table.
That was a really good one.
That was really good. Oh, I got a little dent on this side.
No, I don't think you... 4-9, baby. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you, dude.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. I don't get the opportunity to do many podcasts, so whenever I do get the opportunity, I love to, talk with people. I just like conversations.
You were 17. You were homeless at one point. You decide to go all in on a clothing brand that's doing 7 figures a year. Why do you decide to go all in clothing?
Because I love clothing. I love just being creative. I love creating just in general. And throughout my life from the age of like 15, 16 to now, and I'm 22, has just been a constant battle to find the next creative outlet that advances me further in life. First it was the gym. Actually before the gym, it was literally I was just sketching and doing wood burning art and I was actually drumming, playing drums. Those are my first like 3 creative outlets. And beyond that, I discovered the gym. The way I discovered the gym was just because like I hated being at home. I had a very, very toxic parental relationship with my mom. I just did whatever I could to get out of the house, and the gym was kind of like one of the only ways that I could get out of the house and like have an excuse to be out of the house without people being like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I got into the gym, and as I was learning about how to get better at the gym, like how to get better at training, how to get better at dieting, I would go to social media, to like find these answers. And I saw these people making a life of freedom for themselves through posting and stuff. And so I was like, well, shit, I'm gonna give this a go myself. So I started posting gym stuff because it was the only thing I really loved at the time. I climbed the ladder like over the course of like 2 years. I think I did gym content for like 2 years. And once I reached kind of like top 10, top 20 most relevant, creators, top earners in that space, I was like, okay, this is kind of boring now, because like there's just like, I don't know, like we're here and like where else do we go from here? You know what I'm saying? It's like when you're a dog in a cage with a bunch of other dogs and you grow and you get to be a bigger dog, it's like it's not fun anymore because there's no like real like competition anymore.
There's no climb.
Yeah, there's no climb. So I got bored of it, and then I moved to fashion just because fashion came naturally to me. Whenever I was a kid, I would play like Lego Star Wars, and in Lego Star Wars you can create like these custom Lego characters, put different hats on them, different pants, different shirts, different shoes, different weapons, and I'd spend hours doing that just because I thought it was so fun to like customize and morph your character into like whatever you liked. And for me, like clothing, like streetwear, fashion, that was kind of like my favorite way of doing that. Clothing and the fashion, that was like so easy to like to climb the ladder on. Like it was really, really easy to get the mutuals that I wanted.
Why do you feel like clothing was easier?
Just like I said, it just came naturally to me. Like the gym, didn't really come naturally to me, but just because it's like I just got into the gym because it was the only thing that I loved when I was 17.
I was the same way. We were literally going twice a day, every day. That was our playground. And you get to a point, I feel like, where at like our little local 24-hour, kind of everybody that goes at the same time, and then it becomes like your ritual of going. You're like, all right, we got our same little squad is in here. I mean, did you find anything on YouTube at that time that was helpful for that time period?
Yeah, dude. I would watch I would watch like Athlete X, and I would watch like Greg Doucette, and like I would watch all these guys.
What about Chris Jones? You ever watch him?
Chris Jones, the name is really familiar, but I don't think so. No.
Guzman or any
Guzman, yes,
Cook,
yeah.
Steve
Watched
Cook.
him. Steve Cook. I watched him a little bit too. But to be honest, I was really in it less for the inspiration. I didn't need any inspiration. What I needed was just to learn how to do the movements so that I could get as jacked as I possibly could, you know? So I didn't really watch much of the motivational content. For me, it was literally just like learning mechanics, because I didn't need any motivation to go to the gym. I was so motivated just because I would do anything but be at home. It was so hard for me to find an excuse to be anywhere, but being in the gym, it's like, okay, like, how are you going to shit on me for being in the gym? You know what I'm saying? How are you going to like tell me to come home or ground me for being in the gym? Like, I'm in the gym trying to be better. You know what I'm saying? There's no way to kind of combat that. And for me, it was like, I was a very angry kid. I've you know, always had just something burning in me. And whenever I was a kid, it was anger, a lot of it. And it was so obvious that I was angry too. And every single picture that I've seen growing up, I just look angry. Even when I'm smiling, I was angry. I like couldn't hide it. And the gym was like, I don't know, kind of a place where I could get rid of that anger and kind of like put that anger towards something, you know, channel it into something. And that's kind of like what even like brought me here today. It was figuring out how to channel anger or convert anger into something else that is, you know, adds fuel to this fire or this fire or this fire, you know.
Tamed Psychotic came from this idea of all that energy kind of being poured into this brand. Is that correct?
Yeah. So Tamed Psychotic is essentially just me and the story of my life. Like I said, I was very angry. I always had a desire to be better, to be superior, to be better than myself yesterday, to be better than that guy and that guy and that guy. I wanted to be the best. For me, I had all this anger and all this emotion inside of me whenever I was a kid. And so as I became an adult and as I grew up and started positioning myself as a leader, this would like leak out into my output. And after a while, I kind of learned to convert that anger into like passion, you know? And for me, I know I wanted to do good. I knew that I wanted to do good for the world and for other men like myself and other people who had been in my shoes. I learned that I needed to turn that anger into passion and use that passion to build something that, you know, helps other people, that serves people, that, you know, does good for the world. So that's why I kind of, you know, created Tamed Psychotic. And it's kind of just a vehicle for, you know, myself and everyone like me to chase that like superior version of ourselves in, you know. And it's not going to look pretty. It's not going to look polished. It's not going to look clean, the journey getting there, but we're getting there, you know. And for me, it's been a very chaotic journey. It's been a very messy journey. It's been, you know, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, but my life has been a testament that, you know, you can get better even if it doesn't look clean. And that's kind of what Tamed Psychotic is all about. It's about I call it the chaotic pursuit of an imperfect, superior self. It's going to look messy. It's going to look chaotic. The progress is real, you know, it can't be denied. And yeah, that's kind of like what the brand means. It's why I created it. And, you know, that's kind of like, that's my way of channeling my passion and the, you know, anger that I used to have inside of me into, you know, building something that is productive and, you know, helps people and serves people and gives people a, you know, a reason to become better and like a way to, I guess, kind of like a rationale to use like maybe, you know, imperfect life, like a life that doesn't look perfect and that looks like shitty and that looks kind of messy and like kind of go from there to something better, to a better version of themselves.
Flag on the play. I got something special for the rocks. Now, you guys know time is money. We've talked about this so many times on the show, but time is money. And if you guys are wasting time doing something that we could find an easier way to do, you guys know I'm going to tell you about it. So today, Motion Array just came out with something incredible. They completely revamped their catalog of motion graphics, and both you and I know After Effects is a little bit scary. They've made it so easy. It's drag and drop templates that are on transparent backgrounds. So you can literally go into their catalog, download these incredible assets and throw them right into your videos. And it's so simple. It takes less than a few seconds and everything is ready to rock and roll. Another huge announcement from them on the topic of great graphics. They partnered with Ariel Costa, who is a motion graphics designer. He's won so many awards, worked for some of the biggest brands in the world, and they did a collaboration together. And you can actually download some of Ariel's assets right now on the Motion Array catalog. catalog. I mean, these are insane animations and they can go right into your videos. You can use them for anything that you guys could imagine. Look at Motion Ray taking care of the rocks, making our lives easier. Drag and drop templates. They're completely revamped. I can't wait for you guys to check them out. And you get $50 off if you use the 505 Pods code, link down in the description. All right, let's get back into it. What was that first drop like for Tamed Psychotic?
The first drop was awesome. It was really, really cool. It was a pretty surreal experience. I remember a month before the drop, I was walking home from the gym and I was on a microdose actually, and I had like this vision. I was visualizing. I was really, really pouring into like learning to visualize and stuff. And I had this vision of myself like packing up a ton of orders in the apartment and then shipping them all out. I could feel it. There was tears running down my face because I was like, it was like a vision. It wasn't like I was imagining things. It was like, it was real. And my brain couldn't tell the difference between my thought and like real life. And then when we had the first drop, it was exactly like I'd envisioned. It was exactly like I'd envisioned. I remember, you know, the whole like campaign, me and my roommate, we went out and took pictures. And we opened the website and stuff, and everybody wanted a shirt, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, like so hyped, I got to get one, blah, 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 blah. They sold out really, really fast. And yeah, dude, it was just a surreal experience. Seeing so many people that were like behind something that I had created and an idea that I had just thought of, you know, that's just a really, I can't really describe it fully, to be honest.
I think being an entrepreneur, when you see all of these ideas that you've had, because most I feel like of the work is in a lonely office. Yeah, people don't realize that, right? They see a car or a lifestyle or an apartment or a home, and that is all the things that they associate with like the work that you're doing. But the work that we both know that we're doing is a lot of the time in like kind of isolation. Yeah. Do you feel like all that work that you put in to then see that reward, was that feeling just absolutely insane when you saw those orders coming through on Shopify?
There's literally nothing that compares. There's no level of dopamine that I've ever experienced that compares to weeks and weeks of work that nobody else sees, all coming up and, you know, boiling down to like a day where like all the orders come in and it's like, this is it. This is what we've been working for. This is why we bust our asses every day. And dude, I can't even count the amount of hours that I've put towards building Tamed Psychotic. I cannot count the hours that I've sat in my room with my door closed and my music playing and my computer in front of my face or my pen in hand, like putting in work, you know, doing the ideation and the conceptualization of idea for the brand and like planning the marketing campaigns, like writing down all the, you know, the verbal references that I want to use, collecting visual references that I want to use, you know, collecting like reference garments that I think I'd like to, you know, make something similar to. Like that's the stuff nobody sees. And it's like stuff that you like, you know, you want people to know about. You want people like, it's like something every entrepreneur I feel like goes through where they do something that requires a lot of work on their own, a lot of private work, but nobody really sees it. And then everybody sees the result of it. Everybody sees the car that you get with the money, or like, you know, the Shopify orders coming in. It's like, oh my gosh, that's so sick. Like I want to do that. But like nobody really understands that the price to get that is hours and hours and hours and hours spent in front of a computer or, you know, at your desk. So
and I think just choosing to say no to other things in the short term that would be more fun. I think Mr. Beast had an interview about this the other day, and he's like, most people wouldn't want to live like 20 minutes in my shoes. Like you see all of what we're doing and you think like, I want this. He's like, you don't want this. You don't know how bad and how hard I'm working to make all of this stuff happen and to have festivals or to have my show or the YouTube. And I think that's why most people don't do it though, or most people quit. Like you get a little taste of the rainbow and then it's like you start to understand, wow, this isn't just like a fun little game. This is going to require so much hard work, which is even what we've experienced doing a pod. Like we originally thought a pod would be super easy. Like episode 1, I vividly remember us coming together and we're like, this is going to be cake. We're just going to sit down, we'll roll. How hard could it be? Right. And then after 20 or 30 or 40 and you're like the same 100 people are showing up, you're like, what are we doing wrong? We have to like change something or otherwise we're going to be stuck at this spot. What was something from that first drop that you're now implementing into the things that you're doing that actually has stuck from day one to now?
The biggest thing for me that's stuck is reaching the understanding that there needs to be a reason for your brand to exist. Most brands have no reason to exist. The way that, I kind of like to describe that, it's kind of like a flag that means nothing. A flag that means nothing, like, is of no use to a country because nobody's going to fight under it. You know what I'm saying? A house or a car without an engine, it looks like a car. Maybe your brand looks like a clothing brand. You've got like, clothes on your website, but like if you have no reason to exist, if you are not serving people in some way, if you're not speaking or providing something to an underserved community in the world, then you're cooked. Like there's no I guess longevity in store for you. So the biggest thing I learned from my first drop was that I needed to develop a reason for my brand to exist outside of the fact that we are selling clothes and people need clothes.
And that the clothes are cool. Like that just doesn't cut it.
Right. It does not. Like at the end of the day, everything's been done. Everything's been done. More than likely, you are not going to bring something new to the table when it comes to the actual design of the clothing. What most brand owners, I think, should focus on is more so developing an idea behind the clothes or building a world behind the clothes that people want to be a part of. And instead of selling the clothes, you sell tickets to be in that world, the tickets being the clothes, right? So it's like I learned from that first drop that I needed to essentially just build a world people wanted to be a part of and then sell tickets to that world, the tickets being the clothes, if that makes sense.
No,
that's like a lot of words.
It 100% makes sense because I even think about it with the creators that I really like to watch, and they build a world, whether it be there's something in the video or in the vlogs that's continuously popping up that only is specific to their videos. And when you see when people copy it, that it's like, oh, that's from this person,
right.
And I think a lot about like Casey Neistat and the world building of like New York City and what his life was like kind of during that vlog era. On the topic of building a drop style product, why did you decide to go off of drops?
Because it's more dopamine. It's more fun.
At the end of the day, it's like, oh, here we go. Uh-huh.
And at the end of the day, I don't do this for money. I think money's just a little tool, that's nice to have that makes bigger problems more like inconveniences. I do this for the fun. I didn't get into building businesses and the whole business world for the money. I literally got into it because it was like a new challenge for me. It was like a new, like, oh shit, like this is hard. For me, I got into fitness because I was like, oh, that looks like it'll advance me through life. And then I got to, the top, like I said, top 10, 15 people in fitness. And I was like, all right, this is boring now because there's nothing left to climb. So then I did fashion, and then I got to, be a pretty relevant character in that space. And I was like, okay, well, like this is boring, like what's kind of the next thing I can do that's going to really get me out of bed in the morning? Because once you get to a point where it doesn't get you out of bed in the morning, there's no reason to do it. So then I was like kind of forced into this position by like financial struggle because I needed money. I got to a point where I was kind of in this dead space where I was just like vlogging on YouTube, and I was kind of just like being the mysterious guy on the internet that didn't post because I didn't want to post. I was like not really, enamored by anything or, so it was just, I wasn't really posting anything. And then I needed money, and I was like, okay, well, like, what do I do to get money? It was kind of like being dropped on an island, being like, all right, figure it out. You've got these tools around you, use them and turn them into money, So I was like, all right, I'm going to make Tamed Psychotic. And I was like, I want to make this fun though. I want to make this interesting. I want to make this stimulating for me because I need to be able to get out of bed every morning and like be excited about something. So for me, the drop style is just way more exciting than like, getting a few orders here, a few orders there, a few orders here, like having the website open 24/7, running ads. There's really also no community behind it. There's a lot less excitement behind it. Whenever you do have products that stay in stock 24/7, there's no opportunity to produce scarcity so that you can justify higher price points. Because for me, my whole goal is to sell less clothing at a much higher price, right? Because,
and why is that?
Because it means less operating costs, it means bigger margins, and it means a $0 CPA, right? Because I don't want to have to pay for acquisition. I want my acquisition to be free because everybody wants my product. It's like inbound versus outbound.
I was going to ask you about this because up to this point, have you spent any money on advertising?
Not a dollar.
Okay.
We actually, I take that back.
Okay.
We actually experimented December before last.
Okay.
With one product, because I was like, I want to learn this shit. Like, I want to figure out, like, is this something we even want to venture into, you know? And we did it for a while, and I was just like, I don't like this. I don't like this.
Why don't you like it?
Because you really, you kind of taint the value of your product and of your brand when you run ads, in my opinion. In my opinion, I think that ads will prohibit you from being able to, you know, have that air of scarcity, right? Because for me, like, I don't care, like, about making the most money right now and, like, dumping a bunch of money into ads and then making a bunch of money. I don't need to make a ton of money right now. What I want to build is an empire of, you know, clothing that's worth, you know, 5, 10, 15x what I paid for it from the factories. I don't want to just be like a brand that operates at scale and like they only make money because they sell a ton of clothes. Like, I want to be the brand that's getting resold on eBay for like $500 for a shirt. You know what I'm saying? I want to be the next like Supreme, the next Stussy, the next Cortez. Like, I want to be that guy. So to be that guy, you have to prioritize scarcity over volume of units sold, you know? So ads is the complete opposite. There is no scarcity in ads, because essentially when I run ads, I'm saying, hey, can you come please buy my product, right? And brands that have, you know, really high price points and really great margins and a $0 CPA don't have to ask you to come buy their product. You're standing in line outside their store begging to buy their product, right? So it flips the dynamic. It gives the brand the leverage, right? So whenever I run ads, I give you the leverage, because now it's like I'm having to throw it in your face and ask you again and again and again, hey, please buy our hoodie, please buy our shirt, right? But I don't need to ask that. I shouldn't have to ask that. Anything with a higher price point is going to be inbound. So I don't know. Maybe that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting topic of conversation, because I think about, when you said you were spending no money on ads, I think about Phil Knight and Shoe Dog. Do you know who Phil Knight is?
I don't.
He's a founder of Nike.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Phil Knight, founder of Nike. I went to Oregon, so I had to bring up this story. And he says that he didn't believe in advertising. So he's like, advertising doesn't work. There's no way, like, and I believe at the time it was still Blue Ribbon running. It wasn't even Nike yet. And he met a few guys by the name of Dan Wyden and, I'm missing the other guy, but last name Kennedy. So they made Wyden and Kennedy, which is one of the biggest ad agencies in the world. And they started working together, and he was kind of blown away by what they could do. Because at the time period, it wasn't like they had a Facebook ad that was trackable. It was just like, oh, we're doing print or we're doing a billboard. So it was really hard for them to see on paper, like, where are these customers coming from? And after working with them for that year, he was like, I completely eat my words on saying that I don't think advertising works. Do you feel like there will be a time when, not necessarily to get a customer to come to you, because you're saying, oh, hey, we're open, rather than like building up, you know, your wait list or something like that? Do you feel like that could be worth it?
Yes, I think that advertisement, when used correctly, doesn't kind of taint the value of the brand and the perceived value of the brand. I think that it needs to be used very, very strategically, though. A good, you know, instance of strategic ad use that doesn't taint the brand would be kind of like what Basket Case Gallery does, where they will only run ads during their like 3 or 4 day period where the website's open, right? So, and it's just retargeting ads for the most part.
People that are going to your site, we're hitting them again saying, hey, you checked it out. Like,
right, exactly.
We still got a few
like
left
that.
or something.
But at the end of the day, I don't think that that's even completely necessary. I think that if you navigate it correctly, and if you really, really pour a lot of time and energy into art direction, external representation, and just the perceived identity of your brand, I don't think you'll need advertisement, because especially if you're really, really pouring into SMS and email marketing. Because for me, like, the direct communication with my audience is through SMS. It's not through
it's through text.
It's through text.
So how many people are receiving text messages, and how long or how frequently are you hitting people up and just talking about the brand or whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, but it's between 15 and 20,000 members that we, you know, send our text message to, and we really only send them a text either right before we have a drop, or, you know, right when we do have a drop, like the day before.
So you're not really bugging people.
No, we don't bug people.
You're not bugging people throughout, even.
No,
not at all. And then what about email? How often are you emailing?
Email is typically, it's like 3 days before we'll do an email, you know, 3 days out, 2 days out, 1 day out, and then the day of, and then maybe like a left in cart email afterwards. But we don't really pour a ton into email, simply just because there's no real point. Because for us, whenever we drop, like, it's gone in 30 minutes. Like people don't have like that opportunity to come back and get something.
So it's like you got to be ready to rock and roll. You're not getting anything.
If you're not there camping on the website, pretty much you're not getting anything. And that's kind of like the whole point. You know what I'm saying? It's not for everybody. We don't want to mass market. We want to, market to the people who are diehard fans, the people who are really, really a part of our community. And we want to make that special for them. We want to make that special for the people who are a part of our community so that we can, really provide a unique experience, so that we can assign value to the clothing outside of its intrinsic value of, a cotton t-shirt is typically worth $30, right? Our cotton t-shirt's not worth $30 because you don't get it. You don't have access to it, right? So our cotton t-shirt's worth $60. You know what I'm saying? So it's really kind of like, the email and SMS. The SMS is important, right? Because it's, a good way to communicate like, hey, our stuff's open, go get it if you want it, right? But the email is a little bit less effective just because, dude, like we get so many spam emails. Everybody gets spam emails. If you're using email as like the primary communication device, to reach your audience, then I think you're a little bit behind the times. And that's just my personal opinion, unless you're mass marketing. If you're mass marketing, then you just want the product on top of mind, in my opinion.
With email specifically, because I know a lot of people who do really well with email. I'm curious of your take on this. Do you think it just differs because it's clothing? And like every time, I agree with you, like I only subscribe now to people that provide value in their emails.
Yeah.
So like even with our 505 pod email, I don't ever email people about some bullshit. It's like, this is something I fucked up in our business this week or this month, and this is something I think you can learn from it. Mm-hmm. And if we're selling something, it's like value first, because I don't want to be sold something without you telling me either a story or like I want to know how this is going to fit into my life. And I think people that sell things, that is kind of a really good strategy for doing that, because it's like I'm not trying to just get something for you. It's like, this is going to be helpful. This is kind of why we came up with said product, which is kind of similar to your brand on YouTube, I want to say, right? I feel like you're kind of using YouTube as your email.
Right, exactly. And I think the best use of email is to provide context to the development of what you want people to buy.
Yes.
For me, I do that everywhere else. I do that on YouTube. I do that on Instagram. I do that on TikTok. I do that on my brands page. I do that on, like a separate Instagram page. Like I do that in a much more creative way. I think I do it on Twitter. You know what I mean? So like an email would just be like another iteration of that. And which isn't bad. It isn't bad, but I also don't like to be the brand. Like I said, I don't like to be the brand that's constantly begging for your attention. I don't want to beg for your attention. I want you to be on my case. I want you to be begging for my attention, essentially, not in a, like, oh, I'm better than you type of way. It's literally just like the brand. I don't want my brand to be, perceived as something that needs to beg for attention. It needs to be a community that is just so potent and so like full of energy that people are just naturally drawn to it. I think that brands that really, really succeed in the long run are, like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you think of brands like Supreme, you know what I mean? Like Supreme sold for, I think $2.1 billion in 2017. And then after they fell off in 2024, they sold for $1.5 billion. $1.5 billion. Have you ever seen an ad for Supreme?
No, it's crazy.
Have you ever seen an email from Supreme?
No.
Have you exactly?
I haven't bought it though, so I mean, maybe if I bought it, they'd be hitting us up.
But the fact of the matter is, you still see Supreme as a brand up here. Yeah. You still see Supreme as like shit that you gotta pay for. You still see Supreme as stuff that's like, okay, I know that was hard to get. Like I know that you either paid a lot of money for it or you were really, really on top of your shit whenever it drops. Same as like a new Nike sneaker. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I think it's just like, I think it's smart to, yes, leverage like technology and communications and the internet to, market your products and stuff to people. But I also think it's just very, very important for brands to just build such strong energy within their world that it's just magnetic, and people just come to them and people just flock to them because it's like, this is just really cool. I love what you guys are doing, and I think that's primarily done through art direction, through, production, through identity development, through, just kind of like, like I said, building a world that is so fucking distinct and so disgustingly alluring that you just have to be a part of it,
What have you learned from studying Supreme? I know you've done a whole video on YouTube about kind of their drop style and just the longevity of the brand. Because I think when I was researching other brands kind of in this space, most of them don't last more than like a year, if that. I think that's even being generous. And so you see these legacy brands like Supreme that have been around and, you know, had a physical stores be able to still exist. What do you think has enabled them to be successful? What have you pulled into your brand?
I mean, there's a lot of contributing factors, to be honest. And this isn't just Supreme. And there's a lot of brands like this. But the ones that truly last and really, really develop enterprise value are the brands that have essentially just surpassed, like, the value is truly not in the clothing. Like, it's not like people don't think about price point whenever they buy Supreme. They think about, I'm buying a feeling, an emotion. I'm buying this to be a part of this world. I'm buying this shirt or whatever with the box logo just to say that, like, I'm one of them ones, you know. I'm a part of Supreme, you know. I have their stuff, you know what I'm saying? So it's not, the brands that make it in the long term are the brands that don't make it about the clothes. They're the brands that make it about the world that the clothing, you know, affords them the ability to be a part of, right? So, you know, with Supreme, that's primarily done through like developing a community through targeting tastemakers,
the skaters,
exactly,
the best skaters of
right.
that time
the
period.
Best skaters in New York, right? It's about, like, okay, this is the niche of people we want to speak to. How do we position ourselves as the authority of those people, as like the top of the top with those people, right? How do we position ourselves essentially as a part of the cool club with all the cool guys in that niche? You know what I'm saying? So, like, for me, like, one of my influencer seeding strategy was a little bit different. Instead of targeting just one niche, I'm targeting like 5 or 6 underserved niches that don't really have a clothing brand that are also representative of my brand. So that's like the motocross niche, the guns niche, the X Games niche, the snowboarding niche, like niches like that are very, very, like, you know,
it's a lot
chaotic.
Of space to take shit up.
There is a lot of space to take shit up.
A lot
right?
of people that are also a part of it.
That's the big thing that, like, I feel like most brands need to be constantly thinking about. How can I reach an underserved community, right? What community doesn't have like a cool streetwear brand, right? What community can I provide something to? Can I serve by creating my brand? So for me, I want to target those guys. I want to target the top performers in like these like 5 or 6 little mini niches, so that essentially like it becomes more of like a Red Bull kind of thing. It's not like you're making the biggest, fanciest, most expensive looking clothes. It's that, like, you're just that clothing brand for all these niches. Like, the best of the best in all of these niches
want to
wear your stuff, right? So that makes everybody else want to wear your stuff. So I don't know. That's kind of like my seating strategy, but it's very similar to Supreme in the event that, like, literally you just make something look cool by putting it on the best people, and by, you know, like just doing cool shit that people are like, how the fuck did he do that? You know what I'm saying? Through pop-ups, or through crazy marketing stunts, or through short films, or through you know, just like cool artistic things. You know, for me, it's like the biggest priority this year is to bring in artistic people and really, really talented people who are just amazing at what they do. I don't care if they look pretty, or if they look like models, or if they, you know, they're super photogenic. I don't give a shit about that. I give a shit about, like, okay, are you really good at this? Are you very, very obviously passionate about this? And, like, you know, can we incorporate our brand or our logo or something into your work? Like, how can we work with you to create something really, really cool? And that's what I mean by just making really cool shit that people are just like, holy shit, like, how did you even make that happen? I think that element's super, super important.
Do you get worried at all with the scarcity side of marketing, with doing it almost too often that people become annoyed with it? I saw this thing, the founder of Set Active. Do you know that? It's like a women's, like,
you know
what I'm talking about? The CEO, or the founder, she did a collaboration with Park, which is like they were started with like a hoodies. And so it was like it's like a girl created the brand, super small team, like her family helps her pack the orders. They've gone super viral. They're doing ridiculous amounts of units, and they did a thing with Park, or with Set Active. And the Set Active people and her people started to get upset and saying that, like, yo, there's no stock, and they were pissed off. And the Set Active founder came out and said on TikTok, she's like, listen, just so you guys are all aware, this is like the only sustainable way to do this, because if the Park founder has a shit ton of hoodies in her basement, that's just sitting money that we've just spent a bunch of money on all these clothes. And it's not sustainable for us to just, oh, let's go order 1,000 of these and then only 200 of them ship. I'm curious just of what you found from the drop style of doing this stuff. If people get upset about it, or kind of what your opinion is on it.
Well, here's the deal. Obviously, the goal is not to upset people. Obviously, you don't want your audience to be upset with you. But what I do want is for the decision-making factor of my audience when they go to buy something to not be price. I want it to be availability, right? Because then I can justify whatever price point I want to for something, right? So let's say, I want to sell a shirt for $50, right?
Okay.
Maybe a lot of people are like, $50? That's expensive, right? They go to this website and they're like, I don't want to pay $50 for a shirt, right? But if they go to the website and it's something they've been wanting for a week or two, and they go to the website and it's not available, they're like, well, fuck. Like, it's not available. They're not thinking, oh my God, it's $50. They're thinking it's not available. So the next time, whenever they have the next opportunity to come and buy a shirt, they're no longer thinking of like, oh, how much is this shirt going to be? The decision-making factor is not price point. It's now availability. It's like, oh, the shirt's available, I'm going to buy it, right? Because they don't care about the price point. The price point could be $70, it could be $90, it could be $40, it could be $30. All they care about is the fact that it's not sold out, and that they know that if they don't buy it now, it's going to be sold out. So if they really, really want it, they need to buy it regardless of what the price is. So for me, yes, emotions are, not something I want to be selfish with. I don't want to upset people just to upset people. But at the same time, I do want to provide an air of scarcity to my clothing so that I can assign more value to it. So that it's more value. Like it's inherently more valuable because there's less of it, right? Just like gold is more valuable than tinfoil, because it's a lot harder to get your hands on gold than it is tinfoil, right? So for me, it's like, it's just playing like the value definition game, and if that makes people upset, then it makes people upset. But at the end of the day, like, I don't have the ability. It's the same thing logistically. It is not possible for a small business to just have a shit ton of stock there for everybody to buy at one time.
People don't realize that, and I think our good friend Jeff has made this hard on the 2-day shipping. Our good buddy Bezos. It's made it hard for like the little brands, I think, to compete. And I remember when we did our merch drop, thankfully our squad, our rocks were super chill with us, because I was like talking with them on our stories about the issues we were facing. But we were supposed to get, I remember, our clothing drop done in like 4 days to get it printed. And then the manufacturer we were using in LA to get it printed had the weekend's merch come through, million orders. So we get sent to the back of the line pretty quickly, because our orders aren't even remotely sniffing what they're doing. And I was like, it took us like a month to get stuff out. And it was killing me, because I'm like, dude, I feel so bad. I know you guys spent your hard-earned money on this stuff, and I want nothing more than you guys to have this stuff. But I think people were very, very cool with us about it, and they understood, like, man, this is just how smaller businesses kind of operate. What have you put in place to try to expedite the process of they buy it and it's in their hands?
Yeah, so that's been a very, very difficult journey for me. I have gone through drops where it took me 2 months to get it out. I've gone through drops where it took me 3 weeks. I've gone through drops where half the order took me a week, and then the other half took me a month. Supply chain is the first thing to break. Once you breach like $50,000 monthly, like supply chain and cash flow management are the two things to break, right? So supply chain breaks. What does supply chain breaking even mean? What is a supply chain? Supply chain is essentially, okay, I'm selling you goods, but I'm buying the goods from someone else and making them customly to sell to you, right? That buying of the goods and the goods getting to you first, that is supply chain. So supply chain is really out of your hands. Like, you can pay for your bulk shipment. You can negotiate good POs. You can, really have great communication. But at the end of the day, it is not in your hands if the manufacturer sends your garments to the dye house and the dye house takes a week longer than they were supposed to, or they order the fabric and the fabric shipping, gets delayed and it doesn't get to them until 4 days later than it was supposed to. So unless you're operating like months and months in advance, like, you will run into those issues. And unfortunately, until you're in a position where you're making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a month and your profit margins are pretty solid, like, you can't be months and months ahead with production, because it's like you don't have the money to just like spend $50,000 on clothing that's just going to sit, right? Because like, you need cash flow, you need to sell these clothes, right? But you can't sell them all at one time, because that's not how businesses work. So with supply chain, for me, what I've done to really, really streamline this is build an excellent relationship with the manufacturer. I think it's really, really important to build a relationship that is like friend-like, like home, like super tight with your manufacturer, because then, you know, they will go out of their way to accommodate your needs because you're going out of your way to, you know, be friendly to them, give them your business consistently, you know, and for me, that's been a longer process. You know, I've been working with one specific manufacturer for a long time now. And so whenever we have something and I'm very serious about it, she knows I'm very serious because I don't use serious tones and I don't use like, you know, all caps or like exclamation points very
shirts.
often. Yeah, I don't use that very often. So whenever there's something that is, you know, at risk, right, and I use that kind of language, it's like, okay, he means business. This is important. We want to help them because they're giving us business consistently and they've been kind to us. They've been, you know, very, you know, they've been giving of themselves. They've been good with negotiations and stuff. Let's accommodate them, right? So when there's an issue, like they really, you know, will do their best to prioritize you and, you know, maybe prioritize you as a client. And that's huge. That's huge.
It's
People
a
don't
whole
understand
thing.
that like you're not the manufacturer's only client. And if you are, then you're very, very lucky because, you know, most of the time, like they have all these other clients and more than likely, you're not going to be the biggest client. You're not going to be the second biggest client. You're not going to be the third biggest client, especially when you begin. So what's really, really important is to make you their favorite client because maybe you're not the biggest client, but maybe you're their favorite client, right? Which means they're going to prioritize you more than logistically they would if you weren't their favorite client. So getting prioritized is huge. Building a relationship with your manufacturer is huge. Being on top of your shit, talking to them every single day, making sure to get production updates, making sure to see top samples, print proofs, all that stuff consistently every single day is very, very important. I talk to my manufacturer twice a day. I'm texting her, having conversations twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening because she's asleep during the day. But I also have meetings with her, like call meetings, like on the phone, once, sometimes twice a week, just to make sure that things are on top of mind for her, right? On top of mind for the production manager or, you know, the manufacturer owner or whoever it is that you're like working directly with. So I think that's really, really important to avoid those like huge delays and time. It's a time thing. Like I said, like relationships aren't built in a day. You know, I just met you today, right? I'm not going to go and cut my arm off to save your life.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying? But maybe in 5 years I would. So it's like it's really about like building a long-term relationship, making sure that you like actually show that you care for the other party. Because if you're navigating these manufacturer relationships with a very angry, like impatient hand, and you're fussing at your manufacturer, where's my shirts, blah 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 blah, all the time, you know, you're gonna build up a lot of like tension and bad blood between you and the manufacturer. The manufacturer's not gonna like you. Doesn't matter how much money you're giving them. Like, I don't care. Like if somebody could be giving me money and I can just not want to work with them because I don't like them, right? Or I could just not prioritize them because I don't like them. So be a good person, you know, be a good person, be kind to your manufacturer. And you know, your manufacturer will be kind to you. My manufacturer will send me little love notes and stuff sometimes in my sample boxes and, you know, just things thanking me for working with her. You know, whenever I call her, she gets all excited and they all like laugh and giggle and like, they're all like hyped to talk to me and stuff. Yeah. It's just a good relationship and you want that.
So someone orders a shirt, you're immediately placing you have the thing open for 30 minutes. Do you immediately place the order as this thing closes and it sells?
No, the order's already placed.
Order's already placed.
The order's already placed.
You have it at the warehouse.
Yeah, the clothing will be either be on customs and like 1 to 2 days away from us, or it will be already to us. Typically, we'll have most of everything, but like there'll be like 1 or 2 things that are lagging. So for us, it's like, okay, we have the drop day. We take the rest of the afternoon to prepare for what needs to be done, right? Prepare labels, prepare, you know, like our packing and stuff, packing routines, getting everybody together, getting the team together, being like, okay, well, we need like 5 people for this, or we need like 2 people for this. And then the next day is kind of whenever we tackle it, right? And it typically takes between 2 days and 7 days to get everything packed and shipped. Because insane. It's like, you know, you pack like 200 or 300 orders. So you have to take it to the office to clear out room for the next 200 or 300 orders. You pack the next 200 or 300 orders, and then you bring in the boxes of inventory for the next 200 or 300 orders, you know? So wow. It's just kind of like it's typically a week and a half long process. And then after that, there'll be another week and a half long process where you're fixing all the orders that either USPS fucked up, or, you know, one of the guys packing, maybe he like accidentally packed a small instead of a medium. You got to send the new people that, or maybe people didn't get a confirmation email for whatever reason, or there was a glitch in the system.
Oh god.
Right.
Isn't it just crazy how many little things that you learn throughout this process?
It's a lot. I hired an entire customer service team in January, a community manager, a customer service rep, and
to just deal with
like
all this inbound.
Deal with all the communications. Like customer comms is a huge thing. Like, and if you don't have that covered, that should be one of the first things that you really, really look into. I think beyond somebody to create content and create designs for your brand, like the second hire should probably be somebody to manage, your community and to manage like, customer service, support requests and things like that.
When you say community, that's like all inbound stuff. Is it like a Discord as well? Or is it like smart
messaging? A Discord. I've had a Discord before. I don't really like the Discord as much, simply just because people who use Discord are much more like degenerate. They're much more like they're very, very like they'll turn on you quickly and then they'll switch up quickly. Like they don't get their order in 2 days.
You found this from experience.
Yeah, I have a Discord for my brand. I made one I think a year and a half ago, and we had an order issue. Right, we had an order issue from the supplier where our stuff was like a week late. Yeah. Right, and then everybody in that Discord, it's a bunch of like the people in the Discord were the like 16, 17-year-old kids that are like at their computer jerking off to fucking Call of Duty all day. So they're like waiting on their package, always thinking about it because it's like the only source of dopamine they have. So they're in there like, oh my gosh, it's been 3 days. Where's my order? Like, oh, you haven't got your order yet either. Like,
just
fuck this guy, Marshall. He's fucking scammer. I'm issuing chargebacks. Here's the method to get the chargeback and get all your money back. And it's like, bro, like you guys are just so oblivious to the world of owning a small business, and you're making it like a shitty experience for everybody else. So I actually ended up like not using it anymore, just because shut up and let us do our work. Let us we're working to get you your package. Trust me, I want you to get your package just as bad as you do, because I can't sell anything else until you get your package. Right? So I want to make money. I want to build the business. I want to sell more stuff. I've got like 40, 50 items in development that I'd love to sell that I can't sell until you get your order. So I am working day and night, literally day and night, because my manufacturer is only up day and night to get you your orders. And like the Discord is just like a place for people to vent. Like it's actually insane. Like Discord, I have multiple Discords because I have a few consulting offers, and they're like, it's literally like a place where people go when they don't have somebody to talk to literally just vent and like rant.
With ours, dude, it's pretty chill.
Well, it's probably pretty chill.
I don't know. But we're also not selling. We're not in a situation of really doing like something where they would be able to vent about a product that we're shipping out. I feel like probably when we were doing our merch, people might have bitched a little bit.
And maybe it's a different story now. Now that our supply chain is much better fixed, and people get orders way faster, maybe it's way more, it would be way less like that. But initially, bro, like a lot of these guys the OG guys were from like the gym community, right? The gym guys, they play video games, they go to the gym, they jerk off, they sleep, and then they wake up and they contemplate life, and then they do it all again. So for them, like their order coming in is like, it's like, thank God. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so they're pissed if it doesn't come in like 3 days. They're like, I bought a toothbrush on Amazon. It came in like 14 hours, bro. Where's my package at, bro? Like,
what have you learned from actually having to buy a certain amount of units? Because I remember I had recently just saw a video from Guzman, and he was talking about how with his drops, I think they're doing like 8 mil a year right now ish. And he was saying how he used to just go off vibes. So he would like look at all the orders and say, you know what? Like we should order this many black shirts, or that we should order this many joggers. And so as of recently, he's gotten a data team. And I'm curious as to what you've learned from having a data team. And has that been a very important part of the process, hiring a data team?
That is huge. Okay. That is huge. Having somebody who's good with data.
What does that mean?
Data is essentially just numbers, right? So you can operate emotionally through the vibes, right?
Through the vibes.
Or you can operate logistically through numbers, right? Numerically.
Was that quick that you hopped onto like, we need a data person, or did you?
No, it wasn't quick. I didn't really understand data too much, especially in the beginning. It was like last year that I really learned about data and like the value in data, specifically when making financial decisions. So
big number financial decisions.
Yeah, exactly. And I've screwed up, right? The vibes have been a little off sometimes, and I've placed, orders, and then we sell through half inventory. I'm like, fuck.
What did I do?
I could have sworn this was gonna, like, I thought this was a lock. It's like sports betting.
Yeah, no, really, it is. It's gambling.
So yeah, it's gambling, right? And then whenever I discovered data, I was like, holy shit, I don't need to gamble anymore, right? If the numbers suggest that we will do this, like the numbers don't lie, right?
And this is based off of consumer buying habits specifically for your brand, or do these data analysts take from other brands as well, kind of in your space? Like how does it work? I'm super interested.
So a lot of it, I would say most of the weight is taken from your current consumer interest and your consumer profile. And then like, for your brand, and then, I would say maybe like 30 to 40% taken from other brands, but it's more so like, okay, like, let's identify our audience. Let's figure out who exactly is our audience. Where do they live? How old are they? What's their projected income?
Yeah,
like
all
yearly
of
income,
this stuff.
all of this stuff, so that we can find out, okay, who are we selling to, right? If we're selling to kids, back to school is going to be a great placement for a drop. If we're selling to adults, young adults, tax return season, that's going to be a great placement for drops, right? We need to figure out
Christmas.
Christmas. Like winners are ICP, our ideal customer profile. Like, when are they shopping? How are they shopping? Are they shopping frugally? Are they shopping like irresponsibly? How are they shopping? And what are they wearing? And when are they spending money? And why do they need clothes, right? It's not just that. It's also, okay, we did this drop, right? And a lot of data collection is literally just testing. It's execution, analysis, and then execution again.
What, from the data people, what has been one of the most helpful things that they've taught you from working with them?
I would say understanding your consumer interest to a T. Like understanding, okay, this many customers clicked on this size after it was sold out, which means that we now need to make an adjustment in sizing breakdown next time we place an order for our stuff. So instead of ordering 30% smalls, 20% medium, 50% large, we're actually going to do, 37% smalls, and then, 13% medium, and then 50% large. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be so interesting. Yeah. It's really, really cool, like to play around with that. Another is just like website sessions. Like, for example,
you mean someone pops onto the site and what their experience is
yes,
like.
Yes, exactly. Because every site session is recorded. It's like recorded so that we can go back and look at it. We can go back and literally see a screen recording of what they tapped on.
Is a plugin from Shopify?
Or it's just software.
Just a software.
You know what I'm saying? So, and we can see heat maps of like, okay, what product picture in the list of product images was clicked on the most.
It's a science,
right? It's about, okay, where did they scroll like until they stopped scrolling? Where did most people stop scrolling, right? What was the scroll stopping skew? What skew made them stop scrolling and tap on it, right? What's the most consumer interest? One thing that we learned was that people really, really wanted sweatpants. People were clicking on sweatpants like exponentially more than t-shirts.
Love a good sweatpants.
Yeah, everybody loves a good sweatpants, right? So
it's like my uniform.
Yeah, exactly. And you can really, really learn about, okay, these are our high converting SKUs. These are our high interest SKUs. And then you can figure out, okay, why was this high interest but not high converting? Why were so many people clicking on this?
What's a reason? What's a reason why something might be high click but low conversion?
So one reason being, like, let's say you have a t-shirt, right? You have a t-shirt with a front graphic. You click on it and there's no graphic on the back. But maybe that consumer was hoping for a graphic on the back. Maybe they were hoping for like an additional touch of artwork on the back, but there wasn't, right? So that's one thing we learned is that we can't have like a shirt with like a really, decent like text typography graphic on the front and then no artwork graphic on the back. Right. So that's something we now learn. Okay, next time we make a shirt, we need to make sure to implement these 2 or 3 things to make sure that the high interest SKU becomes a high converting SKU. So, and it kind of like helps you make better decisions, not just in, like SKU development. So like product development, like learning, okay, like, what designs do we need to make, but also like, how much of this should we buy? How much of this are we projected to do? Like we literally from our last drop, we were able to project exactly how much we were going to do based on website sessions, consumer interest, and like the like just numbers behind the website and the analytics from the drop prior to it. Wow. I was like, it basically stating like, okay, if we have the same exact consumer interest, the same exact SKU diversity, the same exact unique selling points, like we would have done 2.3x this with the same amount of traffic, same amount of everything.
And what is the average order value like of a typical?
Average order value I think for us is $119.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Which is honestly like really great. It used to be like $60.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And so from like now, right this second, where you can do a 6-figure drop in 30 minutes, what all goes into that? Let's go for the week. What goes into the week of a 6-figure drop?
So I like to do 2 weeks.
Okay, let's do 2 weeks.
2 weeks is very detrimental. I would say the first week is primarily just product reveal, right? Product display, showing like, okay, what are they going to get access to?
This is like the tags. This is the little details. And
yeah.
Stuff like
So
that?
little details. You want to tease first. I use a method called the THCPP method.
Wow.
I know it sounds kind of funny, but the first phase is kind of just teasing your audience. Yes, exactly. The pot piss method. No, the first kind of phase is like a tease phase, right? Where we'll tease our audience a little bit. We'll kind of show them like, hey, like here's a little snippet of what we got here. Here's a little snippet of what we got here. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. I'm not going to show you everything. I'm going to show you a little bit just to get you interested, just to pique your interest a little bit, create that curiosity gap. I think that's huge. And then the next phase is kind of like the H, which is the hype, right? We need to bring excitement to these products, which means we're going to start slowly rolling them out faster and, heavier, more products at a time, showing more of the product, showing more context of the product, more angles of the product, things like that. And are more like, high interest products, right? This is where the high interest products will come in. And it's like, oh shit, like let's get excited about this, right? And then the THC, the C is collection, right? The collection, right? This is where we're collecting data. We're collecting, our phone numbers so that we can communicate better with our audience. We're, urging people to go to the website and enter their phone number and email.
To be alerted. That's to be alerted.
Yes.
When you guys drop.
But it's also, the collection phase is not just about collecting phone number and email. It's about collecting data on consumer interest. It's like, okay, what are our customers like most excited about?
And how would you find that out? How would you find out what they're excited about?
Primarily through engagement, right? So
on the gram.
Yeah.
Comments, likes, shares.
Exactly. I actually love TikTok for this because TikTok is just very, very like people don't give a fuck on TikTok. People will literally like say if they don't like something. Or
you found a lot of success on there.
TikTok, yes. But for me, TikTok is like it's less of a potent app simply just because there's very little communication between creator and consumer, which means that there's not a very nurtured relationship there. People don't really care.
It's just for you, huh?
It's just for the consumer, right? So for me, it's more so like I use TikTok to kind of just like
you just dump on there, right? You're just like
dump.
You have a different strategy for Instagram versus TikTok because TikTok, your stuff feels very. Just like you whip out your phone and you just talk, whatever's kind of front of mind.
I mean, Instagram's definitely a lot more intentional. It's a lot more strategic and it's a lot more engineered. It's a lot more polished. Instagram is kind of like the heart of a personal brand for most creators. It's definitely the heart of my personal brand, which means it needs to be most accurate to what my personal brand is. It needs to cover all the bases essentially, right? So I think it's really, really important for a creator to figure out, okay, where do they perform best, right? Do they perform best on Instagram? Is it TikTok? Is it YouTube? And then understand, okay, if this is where I perform best, this is where I need to adhere to the rules and regulations of my personal brand, who I am, be my most authentic self, my best self, my most, value-giving self here, right? So for me, my Instagram is probably that place. It's where like a lot of my audience is gathered together. It's where I can communicate, message with them, really like show them day-to-day life and stuff. So for me, I want to really, really be delivering as much value and as much, entertainment or whatever it is that I wanted to give to my audience, like on that platform. Whereas TikTok is like, it's less like there's less of a relationship developed between consumer and producer. I don't know. It's just not something that I prioritize nearly as much.
What about YouTube?
YouTube's very important. Yeah. YouTube's very important just because that's where I deliver a lot of like my value in education and value in documentation. So documentation and value delivery is like heavy on YouTube. It's where you build like a lot of trust with your audience.
Why do you share how to build the brand? Like, why do you share that?
Because like this is just something I love. Like I love the process of building like a brand. I love brand development. I love identity development. I love world building. That's just my favorite thing ever. Like that's genuinely what gets me out of bed. And for me, I also want to be someone who can help other people do that as well. I think a lot of creators misuse their gifts in creating, and they like gatekeep their creativity and they gatekeep their methods and they gatekeep what they're doing. And
drives me nuts.
It drives me nuts. God gave me these gifts not to be selfish with, but to give of myself and to share with other people, So for me, it's like, a large motivating factor is like, I want people to like be able to do this for themselves, because I have so many people messaging me saying, hey, like, bro, I want to do this. Like, this is so cool. Like, I want to do this. Like, how do I do this? Where do I start?
You have a place
like,
for them.
What
to
do
go.
I do? And I want to provide people with a place that they can get help, because like, I don't see many people doing that. I don't see many, like I said, most people just gatekeep, their methods. They gatekeep what they do. They gatekeep everything. And for me, like, I know that teaching people and helping other people will never hurt me. I know that it'll never hurt me.
So true. Why do you think people think like that, though?
I think that people just
scarcity mindset, brother.
It is.
Right?
It is. It's a scarcity mindset. They think that there's a very hard limit on how much there is that they can get.
It's infinite.
It's infinite.
It is infinite. It's
people
creator
talk about,
economy is going to be through the roof. It already is.
Yeah, we're not even peaking.
No,
we're not even peaking.
No, a few years from now, we'll see what the horizon looks like. But I think that I'm so with you, and it's funny. We had a guest a long time ago, like episode like 7, and he toured with the Chainsmokers. He's probably one of the best photographers in the concert space, and he was like, the information that I give to you guys or to anybody is always meant to be shared. It's never meant to be kept. And when I was coming up in like the film space, everyone that you would DM never responded. It drove me crazy, which is why I made a TikTok video one day during the pandemic when I was living at my mom's, and I was like, yo, if you got questions about this stuff, like I work for the Lakers, I'll answer anything for free. Just send me a DM. That video went just to the moon, and I woke up and I was like, holy shit, there's like 1,000 DMs. I don't know how I'm going to get through all of them. And probably took me like 2.5 weeks, but I got through every single person who DM'd us. And I want to say that probably a lot of people that are listening to the show today or like that original group is probably still there from that first DM on TikTok, which is kind of crazy. What happens when I feel like, share that information? It just ends up pushing everybody further. Because now you probably have a guy or a girl out there that you've mentored that's going to have a very successful brand or has a successful brand, and they're going to get the same shit, and they're going to pay it forward to a whole new generation of people.
I think too many people are worried about themselves. I think too many people think that they're not going anywhere, and they think that there's not much chance for them. And I think that the biggest change in mindset for me that's been really, really helpful, not the biggest, I will say one of the biggest, is understanding that if I serve people, if I serve others before myself, then what goes around comes around.
100%.
People will serve me in return, right? But like the people who go the furthest in life are the people who are willing to give of themselves without expectation of return, because it's not always about you.
Oh, not always transactional.
Exactly. It doesn't need to be transactional. It needs to be you are a good person, and in return, good things happen to you. In return, God rewards you for being a good person. I genuinely think like, God is 100% real. And, if we're essentially like, serving people and being, giving of ourselves to people, then, God will reward us for doing that. You know what I'm saying? If we're doing good for the world, if we're doing good for other people, if we are giving of ourselves to other people, then, God will reward us for being unselfish and for doing what he says to do in the Bible. That's huge.
Did you always think that way? Did you always have kind of God in your life?
No. I didn't always have God in my life.
Why? When and why did he come into your life?
I would say God came into my life for real in 2023. I was raised in the church, but I wasn't raised to develop a real relationship with God. I was raised to go to church. Okay. Right? I was raised to go to church, do my 90 minutes and
just get out of there.
Sunday and at Sunday school and get out. Right. So, but in 2023, I had pretty much everything that a man wants, right? I had attention from girls. I had the money that I wanted. I had, the respect from the men around me. And I still wasn't happy. I was still upset. I was still angry. I was still, I just felt like there was a hole, and I didn't know if this hole was like, maybe it was money, or maybe it was this or that. Maybe I needed more money, or maybe I needed more girls, or more respect. You know what I'm saying? And it was at that point that I hit like a financial, struggle, like a financial point where we got scammed by this manufacturer. I lost like $30,000-$40,000 in a day. And I was like, oh shit, like everything kind of went to shit like in that month. And it was in that time period that I really grew close with God, because I didn't know what else to do. And unfortunately, I would have loved to have said that, I would have loved to have been the hero of the story, to be the guy that, persevered because he's just so good and he's just so strong and he can work under pressure. But I can't take credit for that. I have to give that credit to God, because God got me through that. And I can't even explain how he did. I had so much peace through so much adversity during that period. During that period, I lost so much. I lost money. Like all of my money. Like I was like almost dead broke at that point. Wow. I actually reached a point where I was dead broke. I remember a point where I was literally thumbing through a shoebox full of my personal documents to find dollar bills to go to the gas station and get like a granola bar or something to eat, because we were in such a bad financial position. I remember literally getting anxiety seeing my bank account app, and I would not open it. It was actually crazy. I remember periods where I would Venmo somebody instead of Zelling somebody, because I was get so much anxiety from opening my bank account app and seeing like my bank account balance. And it was in that period where I experienced the most peace, the most just like love, the most like, I don't even know. Like, I can't even really describe the feeling, but the feeling was God. The feeling was the Holy Spirit. And it was because I was in prayer every day. I was reading my Bible every day. I was genuinely seeking Christ. I was striving to be better. I was striving to be, to flee from lust, and to flee from greed, and to flee from gluttony, and to flee from all these sinful things that were in my life. And that was like when my life really changed spiritually. And since, obviously, I've had ups and downs. I've had periods where I struggled, periods where I was doing well. But at the end of the day, when I was at my most, I would say, I've never felt the level of peace and joy that I experienced in that I did whenever I was with God. Before, even with all the girls and all the money and all the respect from the men around me, I still didn't feel that same peace and joy that I felt when I had none of that and I had just God. That's kind of like, I don't know, the moment where things kind of like changed for me spiritually.
What about your mindset was shaped from like the ages of, let's use like 16 to 19, that have kind of made you who you are today?
I just want to be the best, dude. I want to be the best at what I do, and I want to be so undeniable in what I do. And for me, I knew that I could do it. I knew from a young age. I knew that I could be superior. I knew that I could be one of the best. And I knew that I wanted to be the best at something good, at the best at something that does good for the world. And
did other people have anything to do with that? Or was that simply just you being very competitive?
I think that in order to be the best at something, you need to love it. You need to love it. You need to be addicted. You need to be obsessed. You need to be so grossly allured with the result of whatever you are trying to accomplish that you just cannot take your eyes off it. You can't take your mind off it. You can't sleep until it's done, right? And for me, I love creating. I love building worlds. I love, providing something new to a space that affects people emotionally, that affects people in a good way, that encourages people, that brings people joy or fulfillment. And for me, I want to be the best at that because I genuinely just love it. I think that, people who, think about like, what's the movie, like Whiplash, right? Mm-hmm. He wanted to be the best. He wanted to go down in history as one of the best musicians, of his time. And it wasn't because he was angry at somebody else. Maybe he was angry at his teacher, but he just loved drumming. And I think that anybody that becomes the best needs to be so enamored by it that they it's like it drives them nuts. It drives them to a point of insanity. It drives them crazy. They love it so much and they desire it so much that it literally drives them crazy. I have been in my room laughing at my computer screen in the dark by myself thinking, holy shit, I am a maniac, and wondering like, why am I thinking like this? Why am I so excited about this? Why am I like, this is like, surely this can't be, this isn't good for me. Like I literally felt like a maniac, and that's weird to say. And I know it sounds corny, but like I broke it down and it's genuinely just like, I just love what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing so much that I sound crazy talking about it, that I look crazy doing it, that I feel crazy doing it. Like that's genuinely like, I think it's love. I think it's a love for the game. And maybe, like I said, maybe that sounds corny, but I don't give a fuck because that's my rationale.
I mean, I think it is. It's the obsession, right?
Yes.
It's like, that is what you find so much peace in the chaos of doing all these different things at once. Take me back just a little bit to when you were a little bit younger, because I think people now see the car. They see where you live. They see you're crushing it with all of these orders, but life wasn't always like that. Is there something from your past when you were younger that kind of threw you into this space?
Yeah. I mentioned earlier I was a very angry kid, and any picture that you go and find of me from when I was a kid, you can just
all childhood.
Every single picture from my childhood, I was angry. I was angry at the world. I was angry at authority. I was angry at my parents. I was angry at everything. I was angry at everything and everyone. And majority of that stems from, the experiences I had when I was a kid. To make a long and dark story short, my mom passed when I was 5 from skin cancer. So I was adopted. I moved through the foster system a little bit with some people from the church and stuff like that. And then I was adopted when I was 5. And from the ages of 5 till 17, I struggled with reactive attachment disorder, which basically means that you cannot trust anybody in a parental position or in an authority position. And then my adopted mom passed when I was 17 in a car accident in which I was driving. And then when I was 18, I was kicked out of my house by my stepmom after my dad remarried and then separated from my family for about 3 years. We're coming up on 5 now, but I've seen my family 2 to 3 times here and there in the last 2 years. It was not pretty. It was not ever. A lot of people think I'm like daddy's money or parents' money, and I think that's so funny because I literally did not speak to my dad for like 3 to 4 years after I was kicked out of my house, and that was a year after my mom passed. And so people ask me like, oh, like, what are you doing for this Christmas? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm probably going to go spend it with a friend or something. And I've done that for 5 years. I've spent Christmas with like my, some friends of mine in Michigan that I really, really love dearly, that have been kind of like a second family of mine. But dude, like, I think that whole process, all the adversity that I went through, from watching my mom die when I was 17, at 6 o'clock in the morning in the dark on the side of the road, the car on top of her, to being, a child and like literally sitting in my room for 30 days straight, like angry, just so angry and so upset that like, I remember like my face feeling like it was going to pop. I remember whenever I was a kid, I had like little lines in my face and stuff, and it was from like blood vessels and stuff. I remember crying every single day. I used to have these journals that my mom would make me write. They were crying journals, we called them, and it was basically just a full page of like a spiral bound notebook of like why I was crying, why I shouldn't be crying, what I did wrong in the situation to make me cry or whatever. And I remember I was 16 or 17, and I went into this closet where we kept all the old school books, and I was like actually astonished by the amount of these spiral bound notebooks that were full. There was like it was like 30 full 180 page notebooks, just full, every single page covered in just like pencil scribbles of like me writing with anger. It's actually crazy. Like thinking about back to it, I forget, there's so many things that I forget happen. And maybe, I've shared this with very few people, because I don't want to victimize myself ever. You know what I mean? I've never wanted to be a victim, because I'm not a victim. That stuff doesn't affect me today. And I'm almost grateful for it in a way, because I think that adversity paved the way for me to possess the traits and, things that I do that are required to reach the point that I want to reach. I think that God gave me a very, very big purpose to do very big things. And I think that without the adversity that I faced when I was growing up and, a kid, I wouldn't have the traits necessary to reach those levels, to reach those, to achieve what I think I'm meant to achieve. So for me, like, I don't want anybody hearing this to think like, oh, like, I feel so bad for you. Like, poor you. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, don't apologize to me, because I'm grateful for those experiences, because I genuinely do not believe I'd be where I am today. And I genuinely don't believe that in 5 years, I'll be where I'm going to be in 5 years if I hadn't experienced all those things and I hadn't dealt with like things that I really pray that like my kids never have to deal with, and that my kids never have to deal with. And I pray that none of you guys have had to deal with that. Like, I hope nobody has to ever deal with that. But at the same time, I am grateful in a weird way. Maybe that's like a weird Stockholm syndrome.
No,
kind of thing,
I mean, I'm grateful for you for sharing this story. And I think that you've lived many lives as a 22-year-old, and you've been through so much. And I think it's super admirable that you came on here and, are explaining to people your story, because you would never know. People would never know the things that you've been through, the things that you've had to overcome, and how hard it was, and why you do the things that you do today. And I just want to say, I really appreciate you sharing that story, man. I mean, it's super crazy to hear at such a young age the things that you've been through, and why you're doing the things that you do today. When you're coming out of this and you got kicked out of your home, what do you do at that point? I mean, you're super young. You have probably not a ton of money saved up.
I was actually $4,000 in debt.
You're $4,000 in debt.
So when I was kicked out of my house, I was kicked out right when I turned 18.
Okay.
So my dad came, took me on a walk, said, "Hey, you got to go." And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what? Like, okay, like, I guess. And my relationship with him was bad because I hated my stepmom because she was really screwing things up in the house. I moved out of my house and I had no money. I was $4,000 in debt. I had to give the truck that I was driving back to my girlfriend's dad because I was driving his like 1990 Chevrolet S10, and me and her had broken up right at this point. So I lost my house, I lost my family, I lost my girlfriend, I had no money, I had no car. So I went and my worship pastor, and I'll be forever grateful to my worship pastor and his family for this, but they allowed me to stay with them for a while. I think it was like 6 to 8 months almost. It may have been almost a year that they let me stay with them, and I slept in a guest bedroom that they had in the attic. And
you're 18 at this point.
Yeah, I was 18 at this point. And this is where I was like, okay, like these people are being extremely nice to me. But I need to figure something out. I need to be self-sufficient. I need to really do this. And I knew that I could. I was like, I know I can do this. I've made money, cutting grass in the past. Whenever I was a kid, I worked like 4 jobs. From the time I was 14, I would work for my dad's rental company. We had a landscaping company. I was a tutor at my college, and I would just go and like do random jobs for people. Like, I would work with like, a friend of ours that was a handyman and did like, house demoing and stuff. I would do just all this other stuff, do whatever I could to make money, to pay bills.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to pay for so many things when I was a kid. I had to pay for English classes when I was like an English teacher when I was in fifth or sixth grade. I know I was later. It was like 7th or 8th grade. I had to pay for an English teacher, and my mom was like, "Well, I'm not paying for it. Like, you got to figure it out." And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, how am I going to figure it out?" And she was like, "Well, go like mow lawns or something." So I would literally go around my neighborhood and knock on people's doors and say, "Hey, like, can I cut your grass? Like, I need money. Like, can I cut your grass for money?" And
man, that's crazy. 7th grade, you're already
Yeah. So I knew I could do it. Right. So,
Did you have a time period when you got thrown out, before you go too deep into this, where you were just like, why is this happening to me?
Of course.
You did.
Of course, bro. Like, I mean, I would go through, but at this point, dude, I was so accustomed to things not going
Just
my way,
hardship
and
happening.
to just literally like having to deal with hard shit. Like, to give you like an idea, I had gone through multiple times where I would be shut in my room with an alarm on my door, and I would have my bed, and I would have this corduroy chair in the corner, and I would have a tennis ball and the Bible, and I would be in my room for an unknown amount of days. I wasn't told how many days I was going to be in there. My parents called it a hiatus, but it was essentially where I couldn't talk to anybody. I couldn't eat with the family. I couldn't spend time with the family. I couldn't do anything with the family. It was just like, you come out of your room, the alarm goes off, we put you back in your room, right? I think I was allowed to go to the bathroom twice a day, but there were times where like I couldn't go to the bathroom, and I would like, and this is crazy that I'm even like admitting this or talking about this, but I would like have to like pee on a blanket and then put the blanket in the chest of drawers, or like literally pee out the window or something because I couldn't go to the bathroom. So I was accustomed to like like stuff that's like, the reason I can do hard shit is because I've been doing hard shit for a long time. So yeah, for me, it was like,
that's insane to put a kid through.
See, and for me, like, you know, there's a lot of things like that went on when I was a kid. But my parents, I think, had good intentions, but I think my parents just didn't know. Like, there was no blueprint for dealing with a kid that you adopted that, you know, whose mother had been taken from him, and he was moved around, and he had anger issues, like, you know. So I don't blame my parents, you know, for that stuff, even though, like, yes, like, it sounds bad. It sounds like, oh my gosh, like, that's horrible. Why would you do that to a kid? And at the time, I would ask myself the same questions, you know. But in hindsight, now that I'm older, I'm like, okay, well, like, maybe I wouldn't know how to deal with a kid, you know, that was angry at me and hated me. You know, maybe my parents had like weird experiences when they were a kid that maybe they thought, oh, this is the right way to do it, you know. So I can't fault, you know, them for that, and I can't, you know, maybe I can fault them, but I can't like be upset about it, you know, because I can't say that, like, you know, maybe I wouldn't have done something similar in their shoes. I'm never gonna do that. I would never do that, especially coming from somebody that experienced it. But for me, like, I you know, I was accustomed to things being hard, so coming out of my house was not like, it was almost like an opportunity, because it was almost like, okay, well, like,
you've been just locked away. This is the opportunity.
Maybe this is my opportunity, right?
Get out and do
I
this.
wasn't like scared of it. I was almost excited about it. So I, you know, started on social media. That's whenever I, you know, developed that. This was during COVID, like right when COVID hit. We were locked in the house, quarantine, all that stuff. I was making videos, fitness videos of my workouts, my home workouts, stuff like that. I would do, then one of the gyms opened, and I started doing videos of like what I was wearing to the gym, like the types of shorts, shoes, stuff I would wear. And that's kind of where I first blew up.
You get your first video to go off in the fitness space. Are you immediately like, let's double down in this?
Yes,
like, this is the spot to be.
Yeah. Cause for me, I mean, it was a game of throwing shit at the wall until something stuck. And then like, now you know where to throw shit. It's like walking around in a dark room and you're looking for a door, or you're looking for a way to get out, and then you finally touch the door handle and you're like, oh shit, this is it. And then you go through, and maybe there's another room, but like, you know, maybe it's a little bit brighter in there, you know, like, okay, like I can kind of see a little bit, oh, there's the next door handle, you know what I mean? So for me, it was like, once I knew the science of like how to engineer a video for virality, and I also knew like what I needed to do to provide something new and to find little holes in the market that I could fill, and then how to take those opportunities and, you know, develop a community through, you know, the way I communicated with my audience, or the way that I, you know, like showed what I was doing or something like that. Then I was like, okay, well, like I can pretty much just do whatever I want at this point, because I know the ingredients that create like interest.
What are the ingredients to create a video that can be seen by a broad amount of people?
Engineering your video with a hook. Like you need to capitalize on the interest of the viewer in the first like 2 seconds, maybe even just 1 second. Like,
can you give me an example of something that you've used for the brand recently that you've seen success with in that regard?
So for me, like for the brand, it's a lot more so like develop, like knowing, like understanding, like, okay, I'm trying to reach this guy. He's interested in this. This is going to interest him. Like me saying this right away is going to interest him. Right. So like,
so you're thinking at the end, you are thinking with the user or the viewer in mind.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That is top of mind. Like, is this going to pique someone's curiosity?
Yes, exactly. Like you need to understand that like the hook, or the first like half second of the video needs to be something that people are immediately like intrigued by. You need to create a contrast. You need to create kind of like this curiosity loop that's like, okay, like there is this fact, and then there is this fact, but how do we get this fact, right? Like it's like, there's a million ways that you can do this. You can use the fortune teller strategy.
Yeah.
You can do, there's a bunch of different like things that you can do to engineer a good hook, but you need to just create a curiosity gap and give people a reason to watch till the end of the video. In the early days, the way that I would do this is, let's say I would do a get ready with me video, right? And I wanted to make this get ready with me video go viral. So I would pick a comment and respond to that comment, but the comment is going to give me immediate credibility that I am going to deliver.
People engaging with your stuff,
right? But it's not just that I'm having people engaged, but it's that I'm going to make something good. Like, this guy's outfits are insane, right? I would find a comment like that, and then I would respond to that comment with the next video and be like, all right, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to put together an outfit for this, right? So immediately people see like, okay, somebody else liked what he is doing, so like there's a chance that I might like it too, right? And then from there, the next thing people look at is the amount of likes on the video, right? So then I would just do whatever I could to hopefully make the video go viral, so that it would get quick likes and quick comments. Maybe I would, in the end of the video, I'd be like, I don't know if I want to wear this hat or this hat, but I leave in 30 minutes. You guys help me decide. So comment what hat you want me to wear, right?
Pushing it.
Quick comments. Yes. Quick.
Black hat, red hat, whatever.
Immediately, it's like, okay, there's a comment saying that he's good at this. There's comments on the video, all engaging with the video. It must be worth my time, right? So then I would engineer the video to be like, okay, well, like there's a hook in the beginning, and then there's, delivery of whatever value I want to provide at the end. So I don't have to watch the entire video. And in that course of that video, I want them to know me. I want them to get to know me and understand who I am as a person, so that I can become a character in their mind and in their world, more familiar with them, right? So I'm going to fill that gap between value promised and value delivered with, this is who I am, right? Which is why I've always talking in my videos. I'm always showing.
You're talking right to the
elements.
camera. Yeah. It's not like it's super mysterious. I feel like they get to know you a lot.
Yeah, no, I think being mysterious is ridiculous. I think it's so stupid. As a creative, being mysterious will kill your dreams, will kill your success, because when you're being mysterious, you're showing the world that you don't care, that you're not passionate, that you are not worth being a part of, that it's not worth being a part of your story, right? Because you don't care enough about it to share talk about people, it or share it with it. So like, why should they care about it? Wow, that's my theology on that.
That is so interesting.
Mysterious shit. I've been there too.
Your community feels very ride or die. Like they feel like they're with you along for this ride. Why do you feel like that is? What do you feel like builds a cult-like community?
I think building a community is really, really about giving of yourself. Dude, it's about giving of yourself, and it's about finding a way to serve people without expectation of something in return. I think it's important to serve people, and give people something, whether it's education, entertainment, value, like whatever it is, like encouragement, inspiration. It could making them feel something emotional, like just giving them something, right? That is really, really, at the end of the day, what I think is really important. I think there's a lot of different things you can do with this as well. You can express and share parts of yourself that you think a lot of people would relate to or resonate with. You can, be vocal and very distinct with who you are to your audience and for your audience. And that really, really helps people understand, like, okay, like, this guy is exactly this. He likes this. He doesn't like this. This is what he's about. These are his core values. He is this kind of person, and it's so evident based on his fruits and based on what he says and based on how, the things that he does, that he is this person. And people want something distinct. The reason that movie characters are so like enamored and so like exalted is because they're engineered to be distinct. They're engineered to be very specific. They're engineered to be this exact type of person, right? From right off the bat, whenever a character is introduced in a movie or a TV show, you know exactly what kind of person they are right off the bat, most of the time. Like sometimes people will be mysterious about it and be like, oh, like there'll be a plot twist and he's actually this kind of guy. But for the most part, the reason that you know exactly who somebody is in a TV show or a movie is because it's required for the character to be distinct, to be, you know, like related to or loved.
Identifiable.
Yeah,
People
identifiable.
can say like, okay, I'm this is my guy or this is my girl or whatever.
Exactly.
That is so interesting. What's something that you think a brand or a creator can do to engage more with their community? Like, I know the easy one is like, when I think of that, I think of responding to comments. Like that's a pretty easy one to, you know, start getting people, if they have questions, you're helping answer them. But what are other ways that you can engage your community?
I think that providing a way for them to communicate with you is big. One thing that I like to do is Q&As. I do a lot of Q&As both on,
I noticed that Q&As are fun.
Yeah, Q&As are really fun because it gives you an opportunity to A, help people and engage with people, and B, educate your audience about yourself, about who you are, about what you like, what you don't like, what your values are, you know, who you really are as a person, to create more of a distinct like profile, you know, for yourself on the internet. And I think that another really good way is by, you know, literally just like giving people a reason to have a conversation with other people within your community, starting conversations in your community, whether it's, you know, posting something that, you know, urges people to share their opinions, or posting something that, you know, urges people to pick one or the other. You know, maybe I do a lot of polls. I do a lot of, you know, things like that, so that people are basically like encouraged to kind of like give their input, right? Because in my opinion, like I feel good whenever people want to hear my opinion, whenever people want to ask me a question, or people are interested in my input, right? So like I want my audience I want my audience's input as well, because I know that in their shoes, I'd want to feel the same way. So I think for me, like giving them an opportunity to be a part of creating something is really cool. People know that I'm creating something really cool, but whenever other people can be a part of it, it's like, even that, it's like that much cooler, you know? So I think giving them an opportunity to do that is a really cool way of doing it as well.
Yeah. And I think they feel a part of your brand because they're having input on all these things that you guys are doing, and they're helping you with, you know, in a way with the drops, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
What has been a huge eye-opening moment in the journey with, like, it could be a supply issue, could be a bottleneck that you may have found that you're like, this kind of changed a lot of stuff that we're doing for us?
I would say that the biggest moment for me was understanding that, like, if I wanted to build something that would serve me for a long time and over a long period of time, I needed to think about the long-term vision and to understand that the longer that I could wait before I take a payout and before I serve myself, the more that I will reap in the end, right? So like the longer that I can go without paying myself, without giving to myself, the more that I will gain in the long run. I think so many creators build businesses and do things and monetize their audience with like the paycheck right now in mind. But one thing I will say, you know, as rough as my relationship with my mom was, she would always tell me, like, you got to think past the end of your nose, right? And for most creators and most people, they don't think about a year from now. They don't think about 3 months from now. They think about, you know, what about tomorrow, or what about like next week? Like I want to go on vacation next week. So like I need to make all the money right now. Like what can I do to make as much money right now as possible? Or like maybe I might fall off in a month. I might fall off in 6 months. So I need to make as much money right now as possible. And I think that's kind of like a faulty way to think about things. For me, whenever everything changed and I knew that I had something really special, was when I started thinking about, okay, I'm looking for a 9-figure exit in 5 to 10 years. You know what I'm saying?
So you think you could sell this company 5 to 10 years? That's kind of a longer term goal.
I don't think I'll ever sell all of it. I think I'll sell like majority share for sure. Okay. But I think that that long term, yes, because like there will come a day where like I cannot put as much energy into it. There's somebody else that'll take care of it better than I will, and there's somebody else that will, you know, wake up every day and be more on fire for it than I will. And obviously it'll be a long time from now, but there will also be a day when I need to make sure that my kids are taken care of. You know, I need to make sure that, you know, the generations beyond me are safe and have money and have, you know, security and stuff. So I think that, you know, I'll probably seek to make an exit at some point.
Did the money make you happy at all? Not at all. Didn't have any effect on you.
money is just a tool to get closer to where I want to get. I want to get to a point where.
But you don't have a number in your head that you're like, this is kind of a hard cutoff. I beat the game.
I mean, 10 million is 10 million. You beat the game.
Mm-hmm.
Anything beyond 10 million is like,
it's just
what's
pure
the point?
sport.
It's maybe it's pure sport, but you don't get much out of it because
Mm-hmm.
think about the difference between 10 million and 50 million.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference?
Not
$10 million.
Yeah,
Like
you get a million a year from.
You're exactly from you're getting $1 million a year sitting on your ass doing jack shit.
Yeah.
From like the like very very baseline high yield interest. Like you're getting like. I mean, what else are you gonna do? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's the
boat gets a little bit bigger,
right? The boat gets a little bit bigger, but like, who gives a shit? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You don't get any fulfillment out of the boat getting a little bit bigger.
Totally.
It's exciting for one day, and then you're like,
I got
okay,
this
well, like,
stupid boat.
yeah, like now this boat, like, oh, it's too big for my backyard. Now I need to get a bigger house. But I need to get a bigger fence and just all this shit.
So you don't feel like you've played that idea that as you move this goalpost, that you need more. You don't feel like that.
I think that. It's less that I need more money. It's more so that I know that I can accomplish this and that I can reach this point. So why wouldn't I?
What is
like
that?
a
What is that point?
curiosity.
What is that point?
The point is building something, building a brand and building a company that will, serve people, generations from now, and that will give people, excitement and encouragement. Something that will make people excited. Something that will get people riled up, and like something that will encourage people that they can be better, that they can be superior, and it's that they can do it without it looking perfect, that it doesn't need to look perfect. I want people to wear my brand being excited, to knowing that they are a part of a community of people that are all doing that are all like trying to be better, trying to be the best, right? And that they're not worried about how it looks. They're not worried about it looking perfect and polished and clean. They're trying to get to be the best by whatever means necessary. That's something for me, like that will be the most fulfilling thing, because not only am I affecting myself and I'm putting money in my pocket, I'm putting accomplishments in my pocket, I'm putting, notoriety and achievement in my pocket, but I'm also giving things to other people as well. I'm also serving other people as well. And like, that's like the whole point kind of like, I don't know,
this
we're
whole
put on earth to serve,
whole thing, you know? When hiring new people to the team, what has been something that just absolutely blew you away with someone you've brought on, and maybe offloading 10 or 15 hours of the week and making a little less that month, but having someone that's an absolute killer on your crew?
I would say there's two guys in mind specifically. One guy, funny enough, what we were talking about earlier, our technical analysis guy, the data guy, he's genuinely like a genius. And it's actually crazy because he does like 7 figures a year in storefront retail. He works for like Nike, Adidas, Puma. Like he's
working for all these different brands, helping them with data.
Yeah, well, with data, with web development, all that stuff.
Wow.
And he just really liked our project, and he has helped us in so many ways. He's pointed out holes in in our logistics. He's pointed out he's helped us get different payment processors onboarded. He's helped us find holes in our in our taxes. He's helped us to
Love taxes, dude.
He's
love taxes.
Fuck taxes, bro. Gosh, it's wrong day to talk about this shit. That shit left my account yesterday.
Oh, really? You got till October. You could have delayed it.
I could have delayed it, but huge. His name's Nick Chang, and he is like the GOAT. That guy is the GOAT. I have a lot of respect for him. Really, really happy to have him part of our team. The second guy is a guy named Jonathan Eric. He is he's my co-designer, and he is kind of full time with us now. So he was expensive, but he deserves it. He makes some really, really cool stuff, and he puts a really experienced hand on our product development and on our just graphics in general. I think it's really, really important to have a matured hand, a matured creative on your projects when you're making something graphically, just because, if the founder is the sole, mind and the sole creative behind, a product that you develop, like you've got a very limited perspective, a very limited, kind of like view on what's cool and what's not, So having somebody that's a bit more experienced, a bit, more understanding of like, okay, this is going to reach these people in this way. This is going to like help us to reach these people. If we want to get to this level, like these, we need to broaden out here and we need to niche down here. I would say he's been a really, really big help, just taking a lot of work, in product development off of me and, just designing and stuff off of me too.
You had mentioned on your Instagram story how so many things are going right, but there's also so many things that you're still messing up, making mistakes on, learning from, implementing new tactics. What is something right now that's super top of mind that you're going deep into trying to fix in the company?
In the company specifically, external representation. So getting influencers like on board and, scheduling stunts and stuff with them. We have a lot of cool things coming up. We've got a really cool pop-up with some really cool music artists.
That'll be like physical at a place in Los Angeles?
Yeah, it'll be in LA.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited about it. It's going to be actually a blast.
That's super
cool.
sick.
So, but we've got some cool videos with a professional downhill skater planned. We've got some cool videos with one with like an MMA fighter, one with a motocross guy, like a professional motocross guy. So we've got some really, really cool stuff in the works, but it's been a bitch to get it all together and figuring out okay, what's our strategy going to be here? How are we going to implement them? Are we just going to send them clothes, or are we going to try to do videos with these guys? So
what are you leaning towards?
Just anything and everything.
Video, photo,
collaborations, whatever we can do. That's going to be our biggest next step this year. But I mean, I would say there's not a ton of big, huge problems within the business, because we know, I know what I need to do. It's literally just time. It's literally I know the steps to get to point B, from point A to point B. I know the steps. The steps are achievable. I have the resources to do it. It's the time. It's literally there's certain things you cannot speed up, and time is one of those things. You cannot just skip time. So it's literally a time thing. And you'll see within the next year, just everything unfolding. So everything's kind of planned, and it's a big patience game for me. Patience is the most difficult thing, because I have all these ideas and I have the resources to execute these ideas, but it's literally a time thing. Time is very, very important. And I think, positioning is very, very important. And those two things work very cohesively together to create something beautiful, perfectly timed, perfectly, executed. And for me, I'm a perfectionist, so it needs to be the right time, needs to be the right conditions. And there's some times where you just say, fuck it, and you just do it, because there's going to be no perfect time. But there are also instances where there is a perfect time, and, that's God's timing typically. But, I think personally the biggest hole is kind of my desire for softness. I think that I lack.
You feel like you're rigid?
Very, very. I think that
I feel like I'm super rigid too.
I feel like that I have a difficult time. I have a craving for softness and spontaneity, because I have none of that in my life. I don't. I haven't dated in a long time. I never got that from my mom. So that hole is still kind of there. There is every man, regardless of how rigid and tough they are, they have that craving for softness. For it's not for sex. It's for a hug. For somebody that cares about you in a loving, nurturing way. And for me, obviously, I'm not exempt from that. I have that just as much as anybody else, and I, kind of have refrained from a lot of that, simply just because I'm so addicted to what I do and my work that it's difficult for me. I know that if I dated somebody right now, they would suffer or my business would suffer, right? And for me right now, I'm not okay with my business suffering. So they would suffer, and I'm not okay with somebody else suffering, because of me. So it's kind of,
it's a hard thing to balance.
Yeah, it is a hard thing. And you have to literally just choose. I
think I've dated my girlfriend now for 7 years. We were talking about this.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. We were talking about this the other night though, how she saw the inception of all this craziness, all these crazy ideas. I remember even in college, I would skip going out to edit videos, and like she would just be in my bed, like watching Netflix or something or playing on her phone, and I would be like cutting videos and stuff because I was so obsessed with it. And you have to have a partner, I think, who really understands like your flaws and what it is that's super important to you, because work is so top of mind for me. With like, I wake up and I kind of go on autopilot, which is, I don't think most people probably do that. They're like, oh, I got to do this. Why? I'm like, immediately when I wake up, my cortisol is through the roof. I'm already probably a little bit stressed out. I have an energy drink in my body, and I'm like, okay, like what do we have to tackle right now? What do we have to go after? I feel like it's very difficult, I think, for people to find a partner that kind of balances with extreme obsessiveness and being an entrepreneur. It's really hard. I don't think a lot of people ever really find like a person who's down to just be like, okay, this is who they are. I'm not trying to change them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's super interesting. If you could go back and talk to your 18-year-old self before you went on this journey, nothing that would change the journey, but if you could just talk to yourself, what would you say? What would you say to your 18-year-old self?
I would say you really are that guy. What you feel in your mind, you really are that guy. And if you just keep thinking like that, you will get to point B. Point B being whatever goal that you have in mind. So just obsess over point B. Don't think about anything other than point B, anything other than your goal and the thing that you want to achieve. And tell yourself every single day, I am that guy. I will achieve what I set out to do, and there will be nothing and no one that stops me. There will be nothing and no one that can tell me that I can't do it, that can tell me that I won't do it, that can tell me that life is too hard or that the goal is too far away. I would tell him that he will do great things and he doesn't know it yet, but all the things that happened whenever he was a kid, all the things that happened that he went through that he hates and that he wishes never existed and he wishes that he could erase from his past will one day serve him in a way that he doesn't yet understand, will one day give him a way to channel all that anger into passion and channel that passion into creating something that does good for the world and does good for himself. That's what I would tell my 18-year-old self for sure.
I'm very excited for you. I can't wait to see what you continue to do. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 153 of the 505 podcast with Marshal Crews. If you're still here, please leave us a subscribe, drop us a comment. We'll see you guys all next week. Peace.